Happy Wednesday, DIYers. It's time for another Wins DIY challenge. We've hit the thrift stores to find some hidden gems and transform them into something amazing. Get ready for some serious upcycling inspiration. Hello, crafty crew. Welcome back to Wins DIY. You loved episode 1, and guess what? We're diving even deeper into the magic of transforming ordinary into extraordinary. In this episode, we're taking you step by step through the process so you can create something just as stunning at home. First, we'll show you how to get that perfectly smooth base with some serious sanding action. Then we're bringing in the color with layers of paint, creating depth and dimension. Get ready to mold your creativity with some fun molding techniques. See what I did there? Next, we'll add intricate details with a stencil, giving your project that special touch. So grab your tools, get inspired, and let's make some Wins DIY magic together. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single step. Let's get crafting. So to begin your project, you're going to start by sanding your surface. I'm using 120 grit to knock down the rough spots. Then I'll follow that up with 220 grit to smooth it out. This just makes sure that the paint has a better surface to adhere to by roughing it up a little bit. So you always want to make sure that you get your base level or base surface prepped before you get started. So now that you have your surface all sanded and prepped, now it's time to paint. And for this step, we are going to use Debbie's DIY paint in the color of White Swan. Here I'm actually going to speed up the drying process by using a heat gun. You can either let this dry naturally, or if you're in a hurry or want to get a project done quickly, you can easily use any kind of hair dryer or heat gun or whatever you have available to kind of speed up the process. So now once you've finished painting your wood, you're going to want to start getting your molds ready. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to mix equal parts A and B of amazing casting resin. Then we're going to stir it for about 30 seconds. And once you're done doing that, you'll want to go ahead and pour it into your mold and let it sit for about, it only takes about 10 to 15 minutes for it to be ready. So once your molds are done curing, you can go ahead and remove them from the mold. And then you're going to want to attach them to your wooden piece. And to do this, we actually use Titebond's Quick and Thick. We found that it really works pretty well as far as adherence and keeping your items glued to whatever you put them on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and try to arrange these pieces on the wood just to kind of see how I want the arrangement to go. And this is just to kind of make sure everything is as it should be or as I want it to be before actually gluing it down in place. So once the glue is dried on our pieces, now the next step for us is that we're going to actually kind of add some color to this. And for the strawberries, we are using the color of Barn Quilt by Debbie's DIY. It's a cottage color. It's an all-in-one, so it really is a great paint. It doesn't require any kind of a primer or anything for it to kind of really cover a project. And for the leaves, we're going to be using Fancy Farm Girl, which is a really matted green color that we like for the leaves. And of course, now with all of this, we're going to be basically finishing this off later. So the colors are going to be deeper and a little more saturated once we add the wax later, which we'll go over in just a few steps. For this part, I'm just basically touching up the paint that I did, making sure I kind of get any places I might have gotten some green on the background. My recommendation is that you paint your molds before you put them on the wood. That way you can kind of skip this step. So now that you have your molds painted like you want them, the next step is going to be actually going ahead and adding the stencil. Now for this stencil, we basically use Cricut. I found a font that I liked, and I basically made it into a stencil using a stencil transfer tape. If you'd like for me to show you exactly how I made the stencil using fonts in Cricut, let me know in the comments, and I will go ahead and create another video showing exactly the process that I used. Alternatively, you can also search around on YouTube and find other videos. That's basically how I learned, but I can show you how I do it. If that's something that you'd want to see, just let me know in the comments. Now I'm going to actually go ahead and add wax. First, we start with a base layer of the clear wax, and this kind of acts as like a protective layer for you. So if you mess up later on, the wax kind of seals the chalk paint, so nothing actually is 100% permanent. Now there will be some remnants, of course, but that's just part of the process. We're going to go ahead and add the clear wax, and then following adding the clear wax, I'm going to age it by adding a dark wax, and this is just going to make it look more vintage, a little older, like it was made in the late 70s or 80s or something along those lines. So you can use a number of different ways with this. They have different types of waxes. I'm using a black wax, but you can use like a brown wax or any other type of wax to kind of do the same thing. I think it's important to note that for this step, we're adding the dark wax now. And so When adding the dark wax, when you first start to put it on, it almost looks like you've ruined your entire project. The thing that saves you is the fact that you use clear wax first. So that kind of acts as like that protective layer, kind of an eraser layer. And you can also pull back some of the dark wax by using clear wax again after this. In this one, I was fine with it, so I didn't do that. If you're doing your own project and you feel like you put too much black, you can always just use the clear wax to kind of pull it back. So keep that, kind of in the back of your mind for future reference.